Well, Paul, trade of the day today within the short-term insurance sector.
Okay, so of the stocks we've talked about, we mentioned that Old Mutual was perhaps attractive and so on, but I think the one where we had the greatest sort of commonality was Rand Merchant Investments, RMI. So just to recap, it's really a holding company. It came out of the reorganization of that first Rand RMB group, but it's got big stakes in MMI, which is Metropolitan Momentum. It's got a big stake in Discovery, both about 26%. It's got a big fat stake, like almost 90% of OUTsurance, which has got about 6% of the South African local market and has a great reputation. They seem to convince people they're cheap even though they're not. Then, it's got structured product investments and other things. It's done extremely well, as you can see there. So, Gerbrand, to throw it to you, I mean, my interest in it would be if over the next sort of couple of months or maybe longer, there was to be further reorganization. What kind of time frame do you think that might happen on? And is it attractive enough to consider buying it on a trade basis now in the run into the end of the year over the next couple of months?
Yeah, I think who knows if they want to restructure and unbundle it. It certainly would make sense from a point of view. I don't know what the time frame would be. I mean, they're holding three various. Otherwise, I think if they wanted to do that, they would have probably done it originally when they restructured about 2 years back, the whole First Rand Group, Discovery, and etc. So that, I don't know, would be on the table, but certainly it would unlock value for shareholders out there. From a trade perspective, it's very difficult. It's difficult for the stock actually to get opportunities to buy from the time it's listed. It's not been listed for a long time, but certainly upwards momentum, 3-4% drawdowns maybe from the recent highs. You probably should look at acquiring some of these stocks. It's not cheap anymore. Look, at a valuation point of view, it's certainly not cheap, but I think from getting a hold of short-term insurance, it's probably the cheapest entry to get some OUTsurance out there.
When you look at the sum of the parts, because you can obviously work out what its stake is in Discovery and MMI and so on, and then you value OUTsurance relative to some of its peers like Santam and so on, does it arrive at a sort of discount, the sum of the parts, to its entity, or is that largely sort of closed up now or followed those others upwards?
I think it's actually close to a premium at the moment, so it's already closed that gap for us. So that big valuation trade is probably gone out of the market, but certainly I think from how they actually value OUTsurance is a different metrics, and we think it's worth a bit more than they think. So there probably would be another 10 or 20% in the stock, but certainly the easy money's been made.
Yeah, and this thing about restructuring, it took them a long time, like 8 or 9 years, to get to this point in the first place, where First Rand owns just the banking interest and this guy owns that. So for them to gooi that out now and start another wave of reorganization, I think is too optimistic. I think they're going to leave it for a year or two, at least, just to settle down before they consider any future options. So I don't know that catalyst is really there. Yeah.
Okay, great. So the trade of the day is the RMI.